I have watched every single season of Outlander, and I can say with complete honesty that Season 8 has done something I did not expect. It has taken Claire Fraser, a character we thought we knew completely after 7 seasons, and revealed that we were only seeing part of who she truly is. Because what happened in Episode 3 of the final season is not just a stunning moment of television. It is the answer to a question that has been quietly embedded in this show since Season 2, and it changes everything about how we understand Claire, her powers, her grief, and the prophecy that has been hanging over her for years. And then on top of that, buried inside this same season, the show did something even more extraordinary with the birth storyline. Because the unexpected birth I want to talk about today is not just the baby Claire saved in Episode 3. It is Faith Fraser, the daughter born and lost in Season 2, the child who was supposed to have died, the ghost who has haunted Jamie and Claire's marriage for 8 seasons, because Season 8 revealed that Faith did not die. She lived, and by Episode 7, that truth tore through Claire in a way that this show has not delivered since the Red Room at Wentworth. So today, we are going to go through all of it, from the moment that blue light appeared in Claire's hands, to the lace from Paris, to the song Fanny sang that started everything, to every piece of evidence the show assembled across the season to prove what Jamie and Claire had both been afraid to believe. And yes, we are going to talk about what all of this means for how the series ended. There is so much here. Let's get into it. Let's start at the beginning. Not the beginning of Season 8, but the original wound. Season 2. Paris. The most devastating chapter in Claire and Jamie's story up to that point. Claire was pregnant with their first child, a daughter. She went into premature labor after the events at the Comte Saint-Germain's party. The baby, a daughter named Faith, was delivered, but she did not survive. She was buried in a French cemetery. Jamie and Claire stood over that tiny grave and said goodbye to a child they never truly got to know. And that loss shaped everything that came after. Their marriage, their grief, their endurance. Faith was the wound underneath all the other wounds. Every time the show came back to their love, you could feel her absence in it. For 5 full seasons, we had no reason to question what we saw. The baby died. Jamie and Claire grieved. They moved on, carrying that grief with them. And then, Season 7's finale did something quietly seismic. Fanny Pocock, the girl William had brought to Claire and Jamie's care after the tragedy involving Jane, sang a song, a very specific song, a children's song from the 20th century. And that song was I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside, the exact same song that Claire had sung to her stillborn daughter in France, in the 1700s, before the song existed. Claire heard Fanny singing it, and something broke open inside her. By the end of Season 7, she had made a connection so impossible and so devastating that the show left it hanging in the air as the final cliffhanger of the penultimate season. Could Fanny's mother, a woman named Faith, be their daughter? Season 8 opened on March 6th, 2026, and it wasted absolutely no time addressing this. The premiere, titled Soul of a Rebel, began with Jamie and Claire meeting a man named Vasquez under the guise of a whiskey business conversation. But that was not why they were there. They were there to learn what he knew about Jane and Fanny, to find the thread that might lead them to Faith's truth. And what Vasquez told them was monstrous and clarifying in equal measure. He had attacked a ship captained by a man named Pocock. He had killed Pocock, and the mother of the 2 girls, a woman who fought desperately to protect her children before being thrown overboard, had died that way. Her name had been Faith. She died saving Jane and Fanny. She died on the ocean, trying to get them to safety. The moment Claire absorbed what this man was saying, and the moment she grabbed the knife, was one of the most raw, primal scenes Caitríona Balfe has ever played in this series. This was not Claire the healer, Claire the medical professional. This was a mother who had just heard the story of her daughter's murder, and her reaction bypassed every rational defense she had. She stabbed him, and then she and Jamie had to flee, and they had to stand in a room together and try to make sense of something that has no sense. Somebody lied, Claire said. Master Raymond, Mother Hildegard. Somebody in that hospital room in Paris in Season 2 had made a choice that took their daughter from them and raised her in a world that never knew where she came from. And the grief and rage and unanswerable confusion of that moment was written all over both of their faces. But here is where Season 8 gets truly extraordinary. Because while the Faith storyline was building toward its final confirmation, the show gave us something else in Episode 3 that is just as important. Maybe more important. Episode 3 is titled Abies Fraseri, which is the scientific name for the Fraser fir, a tree native to the Appalachian Mountains where Fraser's Ridge stands. Even the title is telling you something about roots, about legacy, about what survives and what endures. And in this episode, something happened at Fraser's Ridge that changed Claire Fraser permanently. A woman named Susana Whitaker arrived at their door seeking urgent help. She was in labor, carrying twins. The first twin was delivered successfully, a healthy baby, safe and breathing. The second twin was not. The second baby was stillborn. And as Claire held that tiny, lifeless girl, something broke open inside her that was entirely different from anything she had experienced before. She was not just a doctor trying to save a patient. She was a mother who had held a stillborn child once before in a hospital room in Paris and never been able to bring that child back. The memories came flooding through her. Master Raymond, the blue light, wings, the sensation of something being poured into her from beyond ordinary medicine. And then it happened. A blue light surrounded Claire's hands, her arms, the baby she was cradling, and the baby began to breathe. Jamie stared. Claire stared. Neither of them could speak. When the family had gone, Jamie turned to Claire and said simply that the baby had been dead. And Claire tried to find words for what she had just experienced, and the only words she had were the words from long ago, about Master Raymond, about the blue light that had saved her own life in Paris after she nearly died giving birth to Faith. She told Jamie, "A blue light seeped from my fingers into her body, and I felt her heart beat again." Jamie admitted he had not seen any blue light, but he saw something else. He looked at Claire's hair, and the front of it had turned stark white. That detail is everything, because it connects directly to a prophecy delivered years earlier in Season 4, when a Native American healer named Adawehi told Claire, "When your hair is like snow, you will have wisdom beyond time." Fans had been holding that prophecy for years, knowing it meant something, not quite sure what. Now, in Season 8, Episode 3, the show was delivering the answer. Claire's hair was turning white because her power was awakening. The gift that Master Raymond had perhaps planted in her all those years ago, or the gift she had always carried, dormant, waiting, was emerging. Claire Fraser was becoming something she had never fully been before. Not just a healer in the medical sense, a healer in a way that crossed the boundary between life and death. And what made this moment even more devastating was what Claire said afterward. She wondered aloud whether Master Raymond could have done the same thing, whether he had used those same impossible abilities to save Faith, whether the blue light that poured through him in Paris years ago was the same force that she now felt channeling through herself. And if that was true, then it meant something unbearable and beautiful at the same time. It meant their daughter had been saved by the same mystery that now lived in Claire's own hands, that the power that had been given to Claire in her darkest hour had originally been given to protect Faith as well. The generational poetry of that, the idea that Claire was now using a power born from the moment she nearly died giving birth to Faith to bring other stillborn children back to life, is one of the most quietly profound things this show has ever constructed. But the show was not finished, not even close. By episode 7, the final pieces of the Faith puzzle fell into place, and they fell in a way that left almost no room for doubt. Fanny mentioned a scrap of lace, something precious to her, made by her grandmother, a lace maker in Paris. A lace maker in Paris. Jamie heard that, and his face changed entirely, because he remembered the shop, the lace maker's shop near Master Raymond's apothecary, in the same neighborhood where Claire had been hospitalized after Faith's supposed death. And then Ian, who had traveled to Philadelphia on behalf of the family, sent back Jane's last recorded testimony, an account Jane had given to a journalist before her death. And in that account, Jane described her mother, Faith's origins in detail, brought as an infant to a French lacemaker by a strange little man who told the lacemaker that Faith's true mother was a woman called Lady Broch Tuarach, and that Faith should one day find her way home. Master Raymond had placed baby Faith with the lacemaker. He had given her a song, the song from Claire's time, so that she would carry a piece of her mother with her across the years, and he had told the woman who raised Faith's mother exactly who to look for. Faith had been sailing to the Americas. She had been coming to Fraser's Ridge to find Claire. She was murdered before she arrived. She never got to stand in front of her parents and say, "I am Faith. I lived. I looked for you." But her daughters survived her. And Fanny had carried the song and the lace and the name across an ocean, not knowing what any of it truly meant, not knowing that the woman asking her about her grandmother was the woman who had held her as a baby in Paris, wept over her, buried a coffin, and carried the grief of that loss for decades. In a closing flashback of episode 7, the show let us see it directly. Master Raymond taking infant Faith to the lacemaker, teaching the woman the song, arranging the foundation of a survival story that would take generations to complete. And it confirmed, with absolute finality, what Claire had suspected since the night she overheard Fanny singing. Fanny is their granddaughter. Faith lived, and she died trying to get home to them. The scene where Jamie and Claire tell Fanny the truth is one of the gentlest and most heartbreaking moments of the entire final season. Fanny did not respond with joy. She grew frightened, because her logic, shaped by a short life full of terrible losses, was painfully simple. Everyone she has ever loved either dies or disappears. So why should this new family be any different? That fear, the fear of loving something that will be taken from you, was expressed with extraordinary restraint by Florrie Mae Wilkinson, who played Fanny throughout the season. And Jamie and Claire had no answer for it that was better than the truth. They were still there. They were not leaving. And they were her family, regardless of whether that frightened her. Now, I want to address the controversy, because it is real, and it deserves to be taken seriously. Book fans were upset, genuinely upset, about the Faith storyline from the very beginning of Season 8. In Diana Gabaldon's novels, Faith did not survive. The stillbirth in France was final. There was no secret resurrection, no lace-maker in Paris, no hidden lineage through Fanny. The show invented this entirely, and the concern that fans raised was not just about fidelity to the source material. It was about something deeper. That reviving Faith, even indirectly through Fanny, risks cheapening the original loss. That Season 2's devastating miscarriage was one of Outlander's bravest and most powerful pieces of storytelling. A mainstream drama willing to show that love does not protect you from the worst losses life can deliver, and that retroactively suggesting Faith survived undermines the emotional truth of that grief. These are fair criticisms, and Diana Gabaldon herself apparently expressed disapproval of this particular creative decision, which is not a small thing coming from the woman who built this entire world. The mechanics of how Faith survived, exactly what happened between the moment Master Raymond spirited her away and the adult woman Fanny's mother became, are never fully explained. The show confirms the fact of her survival without providing every step in the chain. And by placing this reveal inside Episode 7, an episode already carrying the devastating death of Fergus in the print shop fire, the Faith confirmation landed on already overwhelmed emotional terrain. But here is what I believe. The show was not trying to erase the grief of Season 2. It was trying to do something more complicated and arguably braver, to suggest that even the losses we are most certain of might contain mysteries we could not see from where we stood. The blue light in Episode 3 was not just a plot development. It was the show's way of preparing us for the Faith revelation, of establishing, before that confirmation arrived, that the world of Outlander contains healing powers that operate outside ordinary understanding, that Master Raymond did something in that Paris hospital room that our grief and our narrative framework would not allow us to notice at the time, and that Claire has been carrying a piece of that power inside her ever since. And there is one more layer to this that I find profoundly moving. The moment in Episode 3 where Claire brings the Whittaker baby back to life is not separate from the Faith storyline. It is the same story, told again. A woman who once could not save her own child, now finding, in the final season of her life, that she has the power to do what no one did for her, to call a baby back from the edge. The birth that Claire could not survive without loss in Season 2 has now become the birth she can transform. That is not cheap. That is one of the most beautiful arcs in this show's entire run. All of this, the blue light, the lace, the song, Fanny's fear, Faith's journey toward Fraser's Ridge, and the impossibly painful knowledge that she died before she could arrive, is what Season 8 has given us so far. And the show's finale made all of it matter in a way that nothing else could have. Because when Claire's hair turned completely white by the end of the season, when her healing power reached its absolute peak, it was not just the Cherokee prophecy being fulfilled. It was every loss, every grief, every stillborn child and murdered daughter and year of carrying impossibly heavy sorrow, all of it transformed into the one act that mattered most, the act of bringing Jamie back. What this season has done to Claire Fraser, what it has built, piece by piece, around the character of a woman who was always more than a doctor, always more than a wife, always more than a time traveler, is television writing at its most ambitious. And whatever your feelings about the Faith reveal, whatever your position on what the show changed from the books, the emotional core of it is undeniable. Claire Fraser spent 8 seasons losing things, and in the final season, the show told us, quietly, through blue light and lace and a song from another century, that not everything she lost had truly been gone. Now I want to hear your thoughts. Did the birth scene in episode 3 change how you see Claire's powers? And what was your reaction when Fanny confirmed her grandmother was the Paris lacemaker? Was the faith reveal a stroke of genius or a step too far for you? Drop everything in the comments below. This is one of those seasons where the conversation is just as important as the show itself. And make sure you are subscribed, because we are going to keep covering every piece of the Outlander universe together, including everything coming in Blood of My Blood Season 2.